Wicked Naked right here on DTM Wicked Radio. You guys know what's coming. I appreciate you coming back, listening in for another show. It has been 4 weeks since I came to you live, and you know it's coming. Before you get your knickers in a twist and plug your grandma's ears, Wicked Naked has nothing to do with being naked, and it has everything to do with what lies beneath the surface. And I'll tell you, folks, in times like these, that becomes more apparent that is so much what this world is all about, is what's underneath, what's the character, what's the dignity, what's the integrity. We live in a mad, mad world right now, and I think we all know that if you take the Dolce and Gabbana off of a dickhead, you basically have left a dickhead. So, wow, I'll tell you, it's a beautiful Saturday night here in upstate New York after what's been a little bit of a frightening week, I think, for everybody. We've got crazy weather phenomenon, and we've got a world that seems to be in a state of unrest like, nothing we've seen before. Guys, we got to start taking care of each other. And, that's what we really talk about here, is how we influence our world. And if, you guys are all watching the news right now. We all are. It's gut-wrenching to watch it, but we need to be aware. We want to be aware. And it's a sad and crazy time. We are on the weekend now, most of us, and, this is a weekend that follows a week that, like a Malaysian airline was shot out of the sky. And it's a frightening thing to think that somebody out there has any desire to do this. It's not surprising that we have the capability to do it. And I'm not saying emotional. I'm saying, I'm not talking about necessarily what lies beneath the surface here, but the intellect and the brain power to figure out how to shoot a plane out of the sky. It's not surprising that we have folks out there to do that can do that. We've had the capability of doing that for a long, long time. But, it goes back to who wants to. I mean, who wakes up in the morning and says, all right, I'm going to get myself some coffee and, maybe do a couple minutes of calisthenics and, shake out the cobwebs, so to speak, and then I'm going to shoot a plane out of the sky. People, what the hell are we thinking? Not long ago, we lost a wonderful human being by the name of Maya Angelou. A wonderful, philosophical lady, wrote beautiful, beautiful things. And I read a quote of hers earlier this week, and I'm probably going to botch it, but I'm going to come close, and close is actually going to be close enough for the purpose of what I'm about to say. Hatred has caused a multitude of problems, but it's never fixed one. And I think that's perhaps never been more prevalent than it is right now. We've got to stop hating each other. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things on tonight's show. I'm not going to have a guest on tonight's show. I work my network and my sphere of influence, and I reached out and wrangled some folks in. But, people's lives are busy, and nobody had the opportunity to actually come on the show tonight. If one of you is listening right now, that doesn't mean I'm angry with you. I understand we all have things to do. Right now, I'm sitting 25 feet away from dirty dishes that happen to belong to me. So I'm not upset with you if you couldn't come on the show tonight. I plan on doing this show as long as I can talk, and I know probably some of you hope that that's not as long as we might think, but it's probably a good long time. So, but there's so much that I can talk about tonight. It's frightening to think that you could be, going somewhere on a business trip, going somewhere with your family, perhaps going on a vacation that you've planned, for years even. And all of a sudden, you could just be blown out of the sky. It's a terrifying thing. It's something that we need to consider in the changing world that we live in, but not so much that we become obsessed with it and we're frightened to go anywhere. Realistically, we could get hit by a car when we're walking to the mailbox, especially if you live on the street where I do. We could get killed on the Vestal Parkway. Anybody who knows what that is knows it's a crapshoot. People drive like maniacs. I expect to see Jimmy Johnson flying by me every once in a while. My guys, this is not a racetrack. Slow down. What is your hurry? Clearly, you're going to work. They'll wait for you. But this is a crazy time. And, we don't all want to be fearful, but I think it's a time where we need to be more aware. I was talking to my mom the other night, and I'm very, very lucky because I have my mom. I just celebrated my dad's birthday a couple of days ago, and unfortunately he wasn't here for it. It's a bummer. It's not because he was detained somewhere else. It's, because he sadly passed away a few years back. He's missed a few cakes and a few presents by now, and it's sad to pass any event like that and not have the master of ceremony sitting there with you at the table. But I'm lucky to have my mom, and I was talking to her the other night, and, we're going through a sad time in our families, and in our family right now, and it happens to every single one of us because it is part of being human. As Nicholson said, sometimes it's sailing a noodle salad, but you know what, guys, sometimes it's not. And that's when you got to put on your big boy and big girl britches and you find out what you're made of. When times are tough, that tends to be when our character is truly displayed, our dignity and our integrity. And it's not always, it's not about the fall, it's how you get up, and it's the person you are when you climb back up. So, in this conversation with my mom, we were actually talking about how fortunate we are as people, as Americans, as a family, living in the community in which we live, that we don't have to walk down the street and be afraid that somebody's going to blow up the other end of the block. We are very fortunate that we're not living in a time that's quite that dangerous, or an area in which there is so much danger and the fear of being killed at any time. But the fact of the matter is that we're all people. And sometimes it doesn't come down to, to hell with sometimes, guys. You know what? It should never come down to, I'm white, he's black, I'm straight, they're gay, I'm pink, he's purple. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. And I'll tell you something, we got to start taking better care of each other. Now, I'm a busy person. I would love to say I've got a plan to get us all back on track, to get us all loving one another again. I don't have a plan. If you have a plan, get in touch with me, because I am interested to know what your plan is. Because we can't keep going on like this. This is insanity. Evil does not fix things. Terrorism does not fix things. Hatred doesn't fix things. Violence doesn't fix things. I mean, anybody who's ever thrown a cell phone knows that. And I'm not trying to be comical about something that clearly isn't funny. It's just every once in a while, in order to keep breathing, we need to inject a little bit of humor into the things that it's almost impossible to think about and talk about. So I don't think any of those things are funny, just to clarify. But don't be sending me hate mail. You don't have to do that. I have a macabre sense of humor, and occasionally I make a joke out of something that's not funny. But humor is very medicinal. But we got to figure something out, folks. I mean, and it isn't just shooting a plane out of the sky. That's horrifying. It is horrifying that happened. It is horrifying that almost 300 people were killed. It is horrifying to think that people, families, children, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters are fractured to the point of almost being destroyed. Because how do you possibly begin to cope with a tragedy like that? Number one, it's senseless. Number two, it's violence beyond what most of us can comprehend. And in addition to that, you've lost someone that you care about very deeply. So recovering from something like that, coping with something like that, it's almost impossible to comprehend. I can't imagine it. I hope that I never have to. But being an empathetic human being and being a person of this world, not a girl, not a boy, not an American or an Israeli. It doesn't come down to anything like that, guys. It's just about being a person who cares about another person. Now, obviously, hatred doesn't fix things, evil doesn't fix things, violence doesn't fix things, it doesn't fix anything. We've tried it repeatedly. It wasn't working then, it's not working now. I don't know what the new plan is. I don't have one yet. I'd like to come up with one. Actually, if I could get my cat to stop digging me, I would be in great shape. Just to get off on a tangent here, I don't know if any of you folks are cat people. If you are, go kitties, right? I mean, kitties are just amazing. And that's not just because my name is Cat. I mean, my name could be Jill, and I would still think cats were pretty cool. But I have got an elderly cat. She has now reached the threshold in her life where she is considered elderly. Suddenly, she cannot stabilize herself unless she is walking with all 20 of her claws in the extended position. So if I suddenly shout at you, it is not because I'm angry with you. It's because I have a sudden onset of Tourette's caused by the fact that somebody is putting their claws in a place on my body. So, you know, if you guys have any idea why elderly cats do this, please get in touch with me. You can find me on Facebook, Cat Robinson. Look me up. I don't know if there's another Cat Robinson. I'm the Cat Robinson in New York with glamour shot photo. That's about all I can tell you. I'm not telling you where I live. I'm not going to give you my phone number because, let's face it, it's not always necessarily wise to do that, so I'm not going to. But I was talking about creating a world plan, and that's a big step. That's a big project, folks, and I'm aware of that. I don't think that I can do that. I think when we all maybe try to do things a little bit differently, perhaps we can all have a positive impact. Ugliness, bullying. I was just talking with my producer about bullying. If you're a bully, you're a dick. Don't do that. Nothing good comes of that. If you are bullying someone, you have a serious problem. It's not about that person. You know, it's about that person because you're making their life a living hell. But don't do that. If you see it happening, step in. If you don't want to step in, tell someone that you see it. You know, because no child should be frightened of another person. You know, we shouldn't bully each other. It's just not a good idea. And actually, it creates a lot of negative energy. And if we funnel that into something positive, maybe we can fix this cesspool that is this world that we live in. Because I'll tell you, it's a beautiful place. And there's a lot of beautiful people. There really and truly are. I am very lucky in my life to be surrounded by some of the most fabulous people I have ever had the pleasure of meeting. These are like-minded folks, like myself, who want to create something better, who actually consciously think, am I putting something good into this world? The people with whom I spend my time actually think like that. And if you're out there right now shaking your head, thinking that there's not people like this, you're hanging out with the wrong people. Because, guys, there really and truly are people like this. You know, I hope all of you guys who are listening right now, I hope you're on this team with me. Because that's a really good place to be. And I think changing the mindset is of each individual. And I'm not saying that we hypnotize people and we brainwash them. I'm not saying subliminal messages. I'm saying small changes that you can make within yourself. You know, I saw something that says, don't complain for an entire day and see how different your day is. You know, it's not about complaining, and it's just about the negative energy that kind of thing creates. You know, it's hard not to gripe about things. Life is a pain in the ass sometimes. It really is. You know, you get a red light, and, you know you're going to be late, and I don't know what it is about my drive to work. And I think probably when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, you're all going to be shaking your heads. You're all going to be nodding your heads, rather. I'm nodding my head, but since you can't see me, I'll clarify what I'm actually talking about. Because my journey to work begins with one red light. One red light that's maybe a block and a half away from where I live right now. I don't know what it is. If I get that light, the red when I get to it, I will be late for work. I swear I could leave 2 hours before I'm supposed to be sitting at my desk, and if that light were red, somehow I would be late. I don't know what it is, and it seems to begin a chain reaction where I'm doing a lot of stopping and starting. I mean, it makes me very glad that I drive an eco-friendly vehicle that actually shuts off. The car shuts off at a stoplight. It shuts off when you're stopped for any particular length of time. It will actually shut itself off, which is super interesting if you didn't read the manual, because the first time it did it was about 48 hours after I purchased the car, and I was sitting at Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru. And that is because my best buddy, who has a coffee shop, she was closed, and I was desperate, so I had to go there. Not that Dunkin' isn't good, but people shop local, support local. You know, we're always asking for support from our friends for ourselves. And don't forget to give it back. So take care of your local folks. So I'm in the line, right? And I'm sitting there for a while because, you know, my favorite coffee shop is closed, and my car shuts off. It's brand new. It's got 22 miles on it. I've had it 2 days, and it shuts off. And I can't repeat what I said, because even though this is internet radio, and it's, you know, I'm not on a radio station downtown right now, I'm pretty sure that what I said cannot be repeated on the radio. But it wasn't good. And the point of it was, what the damn hell is wrong with this vehicle? I just got it. And it stalled. So as I was taking my foot off of the brake momentarily, the car started again. Now, I still haven't read the manual, because obviously I've been sitting in a drive-up lane. And now at this point I'm thinking, maybe it's possessed. You know, maybe there's something wrong with my car. And as it turns out, it is eco-friendly. And that's a cool thing, especially if you drive the Bethel Parkway, because there's a heck of a lot of red lights there. But, you know, I'm talking about annoyances, guys. I'm talking about maybe changing your mindset a little bit, not griping so much, not finding something negative to say in every situation. And I happen to be recounting a story. The funny thing is, this happened years and years and years ago, but life is like this. Life dishes up some oddities to us from time to time. I happen to be telling a story about an event that occurred many, many years ago. It's got to be maybe 17, 18 years ago. You know, I was 12. Yeah, just kidding. I know if you know me, you're out there going, oh, geez, here we go with the age again. But anyway, we were departing from our home. My daughter was a pre-adolescent, preteen at that time, and I had another preteen girl in the car with me, which means I can't exactly tell you what was happening, except for the fact I was in a vehicle with two preteens, and briefly I survived that. But I had gone back into the house to get a jacket. You know, I don't even think I was to the car yet. I think it was one of those moments where you're like, oh, crap, you know, I got to go back in the house. And it wasn't a big deal. There might have been some preteen moaning and groaning, but that's fairly common. I mean, that happens a lot with these kinds of folks. So, as it turns out, those few moments I went back inside the house to retrieve a coat may have actually saved my life. I don't know if there was griping after that. After the I forgot my coat incident, I don't know if there was. But, you know, we tend to do that when we have something that interrupts our plans. You know, and when you come out of the house and maybe the weather's not what you thought, you forgot your coat, you got to go back inside, you know, you might utter some kind of gripe. I don't know if I did. It was a long time ago. I can't quite remember what I did yesterday, so thinking back 17, 18 years is a little tough for me. But I do remember the story, and I'll tell you why. It's a very good possibility that forgetting the coat saved my life. It was a really bad night. There were some really bad storms in our area, and we're seeing a lot of these weather phenomenons again. But that's not new. I think it's just a frequency in which they happen now is different. And I think we're more aware because of the ability to get news within seconds of when an event occurs. But, you know, Wicked Weather is not new. Actually, Wicked Weather, just so you know, is the show that comes on after mine. But Wicked Weather, when I'm not talking about the show title, isn't new. So we're driving toward our destination, and ahead of us we see that the road is entirely blocked by a tree. And I'm not talking about a branch that you break with your knee and you throw in the fire pit. I'm talking about a tree. I'm talking about a tree that's been sitting there a heck of a lot longer than any of the three of us in the car have been on this planet. Probably a lot longer than the total of all the years combined that the three of us have been on this planet. So the neighbor comes out of his house. I mean, thankfully the tree did not fall on this fellow's house. He comes out of the house. My daughter reminds me that he's looking at us, you know, all these years ago, like he's seen us get several ghosts. Because evidently, it was mere moments since the incident had occurred. The tree had fallen only moments before we arrived. Had I not forgotten my coat, we might have been underneath it. I'm telling you, years ago, folks, I drove a Ford Probe. I don't know if you know what they are. If you're still driving them, God bless America. Fords are better than perhaps many of us think. I'm not still driving it, but this thing was like a tin can with pop-up lights. It was a pretty cool-looking car, but at the end of the day, it was a tin can with pop-up lights. I'm going to tell you, we would not have done well. I would not have wanted to clean that up. And I'm pretty sure any care we had in the world would have been over in a blink. But weren't we lucky somebody forgot a coat? So, when we all have these opportunities to gripe about something that's holding up our day, we all have them. We all have those moments. We all have those days. I mean, come on, guys. We all know sometimes one week has 7 Mondays. That's a tough week. Some weeks have 7 Mondays. They just do. We all go through it. We're human. Sometimes life is just shitty like that. But it always gets better. So hang on through the 7 Mondays because eventually you'll get to Tuesday. But anyway, that's the story I had the opportunity to recount 3 times this week. I talked about it with my daughter last night because she was one of the occupants of the car who thankfully did not get killed that night. I talked about it with my mom the other night, and I happened to tell the story to a work colleague the other day. So here we're talking about a 17 or 18-year-old story, and I had a chance to tell this story this week. So, maybe a little less griping, a little bit more positive energy. Is that going to fix everything that's going on right now? Guys, of course not. I mean, we need to have some kind of global movement, and I think that's coming. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not trying to predict anything. I'm not Nostradamus. I'm just saying, that's kind of where it looks like things are going. And it's a frightening thing. Will it be a zombie apocalypse? I don't know. I don't know if people will ever just, start coming out of their... I mean, of course, the way we entomb them now, I don't know if anybody could get out of that. But, not everybody, of course, is in those cement things that cost thousands of dollars, incidentally. Seriously? Why do we do that? Somebody could plant tomatoes there. It's just ridiculous. But in any event, I don't know if it's going to be the zombie apocalypse. I don't know. I can't predict things like that. I don't have a crystal ball. I mean, one of the ladies at work really needs one, but, she doesn't have one. She doesn't let me borrow it. I'm not a medium. I'm not a psychic. I'm not any of those things. But I think we can all collectively say that, something's coming. And the evil and the things that we see in this world, I've heard myself say it. I've heard others say it. The people I hang out with, because I hang with like-minded people, there will be a reckoning. That is something I say from time to time. And the people with whom I hang out, they say that too. There will be a reckoning. We're like a bunch of unruly school kids right now. And eventually we're going to get our asses kicked on the playground because you can only get away with that for so long. We've got to change the way we do things. If any of you out there know how to fix it, please look me up. My dad's birthday, I think I might have said my dad's birthday was a couple of days ago. My dad's birthday wasn't actually a couple of days ago. My dad's birthday was yesterday. But sometimes the days all blend into one. Our family's going through kind of an insane, difficult time right now, so sometimes it is hard to forget what yesterday was. Clearly that happened to me about 15 minutes ago. But Dad's birthday was yesterday. I lost my dad in 2006 to pancreatic cancer, and let me tell you something, I do not recommend that. That was one of the most difficult things I ever went through in my life. A very good friend of mine lost his kitty today. The vet said to him, you can take the kitty home. If you do, the kitty's going to suffer. And my friend, who is a very, very good man, I'm very lucky to have him as a friend, I'm sure for a moment he thought of himself, because we all do. It's a human nature. But that moment was very fleeting because it passed in a blink, because his thought was for his little feline child. And animal lovers like ourselves, we consider them like our kids. My kid keeps sticking her claws in my legs, so if you hear me holler, I apologize ahead of time. Stop what you're doing. What are you doing? All right. A little break there, folks, but now I'm talking to you guys again. So what my dad went through, most of us wouldn't put our cats and dogs through. I mean, the last week of his life was just absolutely horrifying. So we had his birthday yesterday, and he wasn't here for it, and that certainly sucks. It's always more fun if the man of the hour is actually there. It's always a better time. But he was one of these guys that, he was comical and quirky and eccentric, and I loved him. And he gave me a great life, and I will always appreciate that. I will always be grateful to him because he adopted me. And I'm not saying he walked into like an orphanage or something and picked me up out of a crib and said, yeah, I'll take this one. He met my mother, who had been married before, and, I was already on board for the journey, and Dad said, you know what, I'll take you both. And I think that says a lot about a man who will do that. That's might be a rough way to start a marriage. I don't know. I was a single mother for years, but I did not marry someone when I already had my daughter. I'm still unmarried. Please don't send me a bunch of things saying you want to marry me, because I'm extremely selective. I may consider it. You can look me up, especially if you plan to change the world. So I don't know. That might have been difficult, but my dad did that. And talk about integrity, talk about dignity, talk about character. So if I'm like the way I am now, which, I like to think I'm a good person, I do good things. I work hard, I take care of people, I have wonderful people in my life. I recognize that every single day. I celebrate those people, and I tell them frequently how much they mean to me. I'm like I am because I had very good guidance growing up. I was taught to be a good person. I was taught to have a good work ethic. I was taught to take care of others, take care of myself. I'm extremely good to my four-legged folks here. It's a dignity, it's a character thing, it's an integrity thing, and it's a big, big deal. Now, if Dad were here now, he's a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, folks. I don't know if you know anybody who's a conspiracy theorist. And I'm sure there are varying degrees of conspiracy theorists. I mean, Dad didn't take it over the top. He really and truly didn't. He was, I suppose, on the conspiracy theorist scale, he was probably fairly moderate, a moderate conspiracy theorist. He actually did think the town was in cahoots with the people who fixed mufflers, and that's why there were so many unfilled potholes. And at the end of the day, you clearly got to love a guy who thinks like that. There were times it was a little over the top. He did things that were comical and funny and quirky, and sometimes maybe go, what? But he was an altogether good guy. And it'd be interesting to see how he would see the changes in our world right now. I kind of wish I could have him back for a day, just to kind of get his insight. You haven't been here for a while. Not necessarily bringing somebody back from the dead, but say he's kind of like an old friend that you haven't seen in 8.5 years. You have him come back, he hangs out for a couple of days, and you ask him, what do you think about life these days? It'd be interesting to see what people who have passed would think of what we've done with our world. Seriously, guys, he'd probably kick our ass, and actually we probably would deserve it, because I can't really figure out what we're all doing. I thought the way you live life was how my parents raised me. We go to work, we do a good job. We're kind to others. We say nice things. If somebody does something for us, we say thank you. We show gratitude, because that's what you do. And clearly not everybody was raised by my folks. I mean, I know that because, that would be like living with the Duggars and, 19 million and counting. But, I can't really say that I comprehend how some people choose to live their lives. People say it's a generational thing, it's a cultural thing. That may be so. It's very likely that it is. But, culture or not, it's still evil, it's still violent, it's still hateful. I can't even imagine what, if Dad could come back from the dead for a couple of days, this first vacation from being dead. It's hard to say what he would say. I mean, maybe he'd have more insight than the rest of us who are still, amongst the living, trying to figure out how to fix something that's clearly very, very broken. I've talked about this so many times before, and sometimes I feel like a broken record, but perhaps I'm just reaching out, hoping that somebody out there knows how to fix it. Guys, I apologize. I have got to remove this cat from my leg. So, buddy, yeah, absolutely cannot do that. Go over there. There's got to be a string or something that you can go wild with. So, but, and it's not just what's going on in the Gaza Strip, which is horrifying. Images are available so readily now. We can see things that happened only moments ago because of the Internet, because of, social media and networking and the way news is filtered to us now. Images are horrifying. Most of us cannot comprehend having to live through something so frightening and so unthinkable. And, it's not just, that is a big, big event. This is a big thing. This is a big, violent thing that is happening right now. But that's not even, it's not just that shocks me, and I hope that you folks are with me. It's the little violent things that shock me too. You know, perhaps even more so because, you know, it's a conscious decision when one individual decides to do something truly hateful and truly evil. You know, they may not be compelled by following the masses. They may not be compelled by something that's generational or cultural. When you make that split-second decision to do something that is absolutely horrifying, you know, it's just, it kind of takes you aback. It really and truly does. And I have to say, perhaps it's naivety. I don't know. Perhaps but not even a perhaps, guys. I still want to believe that there are many, many good people. It's still shocking to me when something like, you know, something truly evil happens, whether it's perpetuated by a group, a government, an individual. I'm shocked and horrified by it. You know, I want to walk up to somebody, clearly not a good idea in a war zone, and say, what the F are you thinking? What are you doing? You know, if your mother and your grandmother and, you know, Auntie Alice, and if the people who are important to you could see you right now, what would they think? You know, would they think that what you're doing is good? Would they approve of what you're doing, not just with your life, but at this moment? You know, I was sitting at work the other day, and I was eating my lunch, and I've made a lot of phone calls, and I was doing a lot of work things, and I said, you know what, for a split second here, I'm just going to look at the news. And the way I get my news feed, I think, is fairly personal, because I get a lot of news stories that, you know, are about advocacy with the animals. You guys know I'm a huge animal lover. I'm not saying I'm huge. I'm not. I've actually lost weight. I'm working out again. I feel very good. But in terms of being an advocate, yeah, huge. I'm huge in that. So I get this news feed, and it's about a little gopher tortoise, which is just a little guy, you know, not much bigger than the size of your hand, an adult hand. And a couple of teenagers down in Florida thought it'd be cool to douse this little guy and set him on fire. And, you know, the parents are saying, look at, you know, and they don't deserve death threats, guys. Sometimes we just all take it too far. You know, death threats aren't going to fix this. And this one teenager's dad, this is not how I raised my daughter. I'm telling you guys, my dad would have kicked my ass if I ever did something like that, and he should have. And maybe if we did it a little bit more often than we do right now, this kind of stuff wouldn't happen. You know, because we rely on a lot of methods to raise our kids other than actual parenting. Parenting, you know, it's been tried for thousands of years, and we've made it this far. So parenting actually is kind of working out. A lack of parenting, not working so well, for the most part, you know, not working so well. But the father says, you know what, we're going to let the court systems deal with this, and, you know, we'll take it as it comes. So you're going to go to court, and you're going to get a public defender, or I don't know, maybe you're going to hire your own attorney, you're going to go through the court system. And I'm thinking to myself, that's all well and good, because the justice system is established for a reason. Does it always work? No. Does it work sometimes? Yeah. Doesn't seem to work that often. But you know what, we still got to have maybe a little bit of faith left in our justice system. So the father says, you know, this is what we're going to do. The courts are going to handle this. She's going to be reprimanded. And I'm thinking to myself, buddy, you're going to go through the court system. All right, that's all well and fine. But that's just a fraction of your problem. Because I have to think that there is something seriously wrong with somebody who would do something like that. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I actually get turtles out of the road. You know, I mean, I'm not going to cause a serious car accident, but if the moment allowed for it, I would pull over my vehicle and I would pick up the turtle and I would get him out of the road. I'd be like, hey, turtle, what's up? I'm going to pick you up. Don't all get all turtle-like and freak out. And I don't know if turtles do that, but I always think, okay, don't if turtles freak out, please don't. You know, and I get him out of the road because you know what? I have a minute to take him out of the road. He doesn't need to get hit. And you know what? It's a truly humanitarian thing to do. It's a really good thing to do. I mean, who wakes up in the morning and says, I think I'm going to set a tortoise on fire? You might be a sociopath. So you know what? Go through the court system, rely upon the justice system to determine how punishment should be, you know, passed down or however we want to say it. But, you know, if she gets a little community service and she goes home, You know, that's all well and fine, folks, but she's still the girl who sets tortoise on fire. So, you know, when she's done raking leaves in the park, you know, I can't imagine these people, and I'm not going to say names. That's not what I do on this show. I'm not out to do that, but I can't imagine that these people who raised this girl who set this thing on fire are listening to my show tonight, but if by any chance they were, just remember when she comes home from raking leaves, she's still the girl who set the turtle on fire. Tortoise, right? But this little gopher tortoise on fire. Don't do shit like that, folks. That is just ridiculous. Nothing good comes of that. And with social media, everybody's going to know you're a dick in like 5 minutes. You know, there was a guy, I think it was in Oklahoma City, folks. This is another story I read this week. I was here by myself, you know, in my little house with my dogs. You know, they're all hanging out, and they're kind of old now, so they're pretty mellow. They're like, hey, I just got up from a nap. Yeah, I'm going to go take another nap. Yeah, I'll check in with you in a little bit. And I'm like, okay, you know, you're a dog. You know, you can do that. It's not like you got to get ready to go to work. Although that would be cool. So I'm sitting here with my dogs, and it's maybe 2-3 days ago. I think it might have been 3 days ago. I think it was the same day with the Malaysian Flight 17, and, you know, sitting here horrified watching the news and wondering why this had to happen. And a fella in Oklahoma City moves out of his apartment. And, you know, that's all well and fine because we do that. You know, we're all a little bit nomadic. We all move around from time to time. We get a little gypsy in us. You know, this place is okay, but, you know, that place is better, so we pack all of our shit in a box and we go move. That's, you know, it's a fairly normal thing to do. When we do it, we don't normally leave our dogs in the apartment we just vacated. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, I thought about him from time to time. I'm like, seriously? Is it, like what? Like, gosh, I wonder how those dogs are that haven't eaten in 12 days. I wonder how those dogs are that haven't eaten in 27 days. Buddy, what is wrong with you? I mean, I can't say, folks, that I honestly understand what goes through somebody's mind when they do something like that. You know, the guy has been arrested. The guy's going to be tried. And basically, I hope they throw their damn book at him. I hope the book is made of a brick. As a matter of fact, I hope it's a book with a brick inside that's like maybe on fire when they throw it at him. I mean, come on, who does this kind of thing? I mean, that's just nuts. That's just freaking nuts. You know, I leave my house to go to work every day. Most of us do that. I work 6 days a week. 5 days are very long. The 6th day I have a little bit more control over, but right now, folks, I will pretty much work 6 days a week. And I'll tell you something, if I'm a little delayed getting home, I'm like, you know, man, you know, I mean, you realize in dog world that they don't know if you've been gone 5 minutes or 5 months. They really don't know. But don't leave them for 5 months. I mean, that's not a good idea. They need to eat every day. But, you know, if I'm 10 minutes late, they're probably not all that worried about it. They don't understand the concept of driving the Vestal Parkway. So if I'm 10 minutes late, they're not all that concerned. But if I'm 10 minutes late, I'm thinking, you know, God, I hope they're all right. You know, they're older dogs now. When they need to do their business, they seriously need to go. You know, it's kind of like us as we get older and we're getting up 3 times a night, and God forbid there's something in the way because we're going to pee ourselves. I think older and elderly and geriatric dogs are kind of like that, too. So when I'm late, I'm really thinking about, man, I ought to get back because these guys are waiting for me. You know, I'm stuck at a stoplight. You know, I forgot my, you know, purse or cell phone or, you know, I'm just as human as the rest of you. I forget things all the time. I walk out the door, you know, I have my cell phone. You know, I make a beautiful iced coffee in my little kitchen every morning, and every once in a while I get to the car and, you know, coffee's on the counter. I trudge back in muttering a bunch of things that I'm going to try not to do that anymore. I'm going to try not to forget it. I'm going to try not to mutter when I do. But we all do that. We all forget things. But you know what? Forgetting that you left your dogs after a month, there's something wrong with this guy. So you know that the justice system, like the turtle burner there, will go through the justice system. This dickhead who forgot he had pit bulls in his apartment will go through the justice system too. But whatever sentence they hand down, guys, at the end of the day, it's still a guy who forgot his dogs in his apartment for a month. I mean, we live in this world with some seriously effed up people. You know, so it's, you know what? Every time I see a story like that, I don't know how it affects the rest of you guys, but when I read something like that, I mean, number one, I'm ticked. I'm seriously ticked off. I mean, I got a couple of 2x4s I'm not doing anything with right now. I want to go hit these people with one of them. You know, and I'm not a violent person. I just, you know, you ought to be hit upside the head with a 2x4. What the heck were you thinking? I don't think that fixed sociopathic tendencies, but it certainly would make me feel better. But, you know, I mean, I honestly can't imagine why somebody would do something like that. It's just absolutely horrifying. You know, there was another story this week, and I read a lot of these stories because, I'm telling you, there's a lot of good stories too, guys. A lot of good stories out there. You know, people oftentimes comment to me, you know, a lot of the people I network with in social media are people that I see every day. You know, it's not just, you know, Facebook or Twitter friends that, you know, I've never met, that I don't even know if they are the person in the picture. A lot of my people that I network with every day, I know exactly who they are. If I pass them in the grocery store, you know, I'd say, hey, Jane, how are you? Because I know Jane. You know, I've seen her a number of times. So, you know, people often say, you know, gosh, it kind of creeps me out, the stuff that you share on, you know, social media, and it you know, it really hurts me sometimes. And, you know, whenever I bring a new group of people into my social media sphere, so to speak, I always post a little disclaimer, like some of the things I might post here, you know, may be somewhat graphic. They may be, you know, they may hurt you. You know, they may make you feel sad or angry. And I'm sorry, but what I'm doing to raise awareness, and I'm doing to help those who can't help themselves. And clearly animals are like that, you know. And if an animal's in a cage for 19 days waiting for its human to come back, who maybe can't come back because I've hit him in the head with a 2x4, you know, he's not going to pick up his cell phone and call 911. You know, he's not going to pick up his cell phone and call his buddy down the block and say, hey, I need some kibble. Somebody forgot about me. Can you come over? They can't do that. They rely on us to take care of them. So I always say, folks, you know, I'm sorry if something I do or say offends you, but I'm trying to raise awareness. But I share really good things, too, because there are really, really good stories. You know, I follow a friend down on Long Island who is an animal rescuer. She was on the news the other night. I'm still trying to figure out how to find the clip. I'm a little technologically backwards from time to time, but I'm confident I will find it tonight because I really want to see this because they do so much rescue work, and she's packing her car with crates, and she's going to rescue chickens that were probably for free on Craigslist. People don't give your pets away for free on Craigslist. If you don't know about Puppy Dough, look it up. And I'm going to give you a little disclaimer here, folks, because this is not one of the good stories. This is not a good story. So if you're going to look this up because I talked about it tonight, or maybe I talked about it in a previous show, or you heard it on a podcast, I'm going to forewarn you. This is not a good story. But if you want to make yourself aware of the Puppy Dough case, you know, look it up. The Puppy Dough case, unfortunately, was a dog that was listed for free on Craigslist. Fell into the hands of a monster. And unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of good folks out there. There's a lot of folks that really just don't make that list. And a lot of them troll on Craigslist looking for critters that they can hurt. So don't do that. You know, you got a puppy or a kitty or, you know, hamster or, you know, whatever little critter you got that you want to give away, don't post it for free on Craigslist because it's probably not going to a good place. You know, there's a very good chance that it won't go to a good place. There's a chance that there is. But it's a risky thing, and you got to decide if you want to take that chance, and my recommendation is don't. And I really did mean to raise my voice. My cat's not clawing my leg again. Don't do that, the Craigslist test, guys. You know, but there's so many good stories. You know, it's not cool to have chickens listed for free on Craigslist because, unfortunately, they can fall into the wrong hands, and pretty much anything can be used as a bait animal. So, and I'm sure the person who's giving away their chickens doesn't really want it to happen to them. You know, but this gal, Erica, that I follow, she does a lot of rescue work. You know, I see pictures of her on Facebook the other night, not because I'm a stalker, because it came up on my feed, and she's packing crates in her car because she's going to rescue chickens. And I'm like, you know what? This is the kind of chick I want to hang out with. These are the kind of people with whom I want to share my world. You know, I don't get to choose everybody who's on the planet. But you know what? That would be cool. You know, just kind of like a cat registry service. I don't know. I don't believe in, you know, just excluding people in a violent way. But, you know, we can figure out what to do with the folks who don't make the list. maybe put them on an island somewhere, set up a bunch of turbines, and maybe we can create a new energy source, have them grow a lot of food, and maybe put the earth back together. And, it's kind of like anything, like the clothes you don't like, you put on that side of the closet. The clothes you do like, you put on this side of the closet. We could just put maybe some people on that side of the closet, and they could do something useful because they didn't make the cut. Okay, that's starting to sound crazy, but it actually sounds like a really cool book that maybe I'll write someday, because I'm an author, and I know you're rolling your eyes, and that's okay. But there's some good stories out there. That's basically what I was talking about before I went on that elongated tangent about putting a bunch of people on an island and with turbines and turnips. That was a little weird, wasn't it? That's all right. I'm a little weird. I admit it. It's actually working out nicely for me, in case you were wondering. What kind of time do I have here? Oh, my God, I can ramble for at least another 9-10 minutes. If I didn't mention it already, immediately following my show here tonight, July 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's going to be a show called Wicked Weather. I'm telling you something, guys. You should check this out, because I'm actually going to check it out. I'm going to go whip myself up something to eat real quick, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to listen, because it sounds really, really cool. There's a lot of changes in weather phenomena right now, and I'm very interested in that. My brother's very interested in that. My nephew, cute little fella, he's very interested in that. So I'm going to check out this show. Probably you should too. So Wicked Weather, which I love that. I don't just love Wicked Weather. I mean, Wicked Weather can sometimes be scary, but catchy name. And super great for the DTM Wicked Radio Network. I mean, the name certainly works. So I'm going to check that out. So you should check that out, too. So I had to give a plug to the folks next in line here on DTM Wicked Radio. Let's see, where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, I was talking about 9-10 minutes left to ramble. Oh, great. Now I only got 8 because I just used up a couple. But anyway, unfortunately, not all the stories are good, guys. And another one came up on my news feed on my social media, actually posted by someone who I very much like, who I have a mad amount of respect for, because truly good human being, does a lot of fabulous things I wish I could do. But there are different levels of being committed to animal advocacy, and they're all important. So, if you can give $5 to an animal rescue every once in a while, or collect bottles for somebody, guys, that's huge. You don't have to be working for the SPCA or the Humane Society to be making a difference, to be creating an impact in the life of, a critter who needs you desperately. So there are a multitude of ways you can get involved. If you want to know what they are, jump on my Facebook page. Friend me. I would be happy to share the different methods by which you can get involved. You can transport, you can donate, you can rescue, you can go out there in disaster areas and help out. You can get Red Rover certified. You can shadow a rescue, maybe just get an insight into what they're doing. Follow some of the shows, the radio shows, the TV shows. Just get involved with other advocates, because that's how you get aware, become more aware of what happens, because I'm sharing these things to raise awareness. They're doing it too. So it's a great way to become aware. And unfortunately, not everything you're going to become aware of if you get into this advocacy is going to be a good thing. There's a lot of good work going on in the advocacy community, and I hope to highlight a lot of that with a new show that I plan to launch this fall called Wicked Rescue. Because there are so many negative things, there are so many ugly things, that I really want to celebrate the people who are out there. And these folks are in the trenches. I mean, videos of a man sitting for hours trying to gain the trust of a dog. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, most of us can't get our guys to sit through an hour and 35-minute chick flick. And, you got guys out there that will sit for hours trying to gain the trust of a dog that's been abandoned someplace where a dog should never live. So there's so many fabulous rescue stories out there. And, if you're going to become involved in advocacy work, a lot of what you're going to see is the underbelly of it, and it's ugly, and it's sad, and it's horrifying. It's terrible to think of the things that people can do, the evils that they can inflict, the abuse that they can inflict. But keep going until you find something good, because there's a lot of wonderful stories out there, and I hope to highlight some of them this fall in my upcoming show. But we're looking at the 7:50 Eastern Standard Time mark, which means I'm going to be wrapping up here in a little bit. The production staff is going to be getting ready for their next show. I'm telling you guys, you ought to stick around because it sounds cool. I haven't listened to the show before. I'm going to listen to it tonight. Like I said, it sounds really cool. It's something I'm interested in. I think as humans who are affected by weather, maybe it's probably something most people are interested in. If you've ever bought an umbrella, obviously you're concerned with the weather. So, or it's because your mom told you to, like mine did. Don't you have an umbrella? That's my mom's voice. That's not my mother's voice. I'm not suggesting she's here doing the show with me. But I do have this mom voice. And it's not because we don't love our moms, but all moms are pretty much the same. I hear myself say things to my daughter, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. I'll open my mouth, and I'll talk to mom. That'll sometimes happen as you grow older. I will tell you it will happen more. If you got a mom, you're lucky, because moms are cool. There's nobody like mom. Something good happens, you want to call mom. Something bad happens, you want to call mom, because you want to sit in somebody's lap and cry. Doesn't everybody sit in their mom's lap? No, I don't really sit in my mom's lap. It's metaphorical, guys. Don't be out there going, oh, my God, she sits in her mother's lap. How old is she? It's just metaphorical. We all need somebody to lean on. You know what? I am very, very lucky. I may be single, and I'm not saying that because I'm going to go audition for The Bachelorette. I'm probably beyond the age bracket for that anyway. But I don't have that one person on whom I can lean. I don't have that one person. I'm looking for that person. You know what? If you're that person, yeah, call me. We could do coffee. It's a little late now, but we could do decaf. But, I have so many great people in my life, and I lean on these people every single day. I also let them lean on me, because if you've got a friend or you are a friend, guys, remember that that's a reciprocal thing, and we've all been through that. We all have fair weather friends who need us so much when they're going through something, but don't really have time for us when we're going through something, because it's hard to be human, and we're all going to go through stuff. So if you have people who lean on you and will allow you to lean on them, you know what, take a couple minutes, whether it's by a text, a message, call them, and you write a note. People still do that. This thing called the Postal Service. They will actually take a note from your house, send it to your buddy's house. It's a really cool thing. You get a stamp, you write something down, you put it in an envelope, put the stamp on it. Someone will actually take it to your buddy's door. And if that's the way that you need to get, the right words to your person to say, hey, I care about you, you're important to me, do it. I actually have been thinking about writing letters again. I think it's a really cool concept. I used to have a pen pal. It was a really cool thing. Now we talk to people on Facebook who live halfway around the world, but I think once in a while it's still pretty cool to take a pen to a piece of paper and write somebody a note. We should do it. If you guys have people in your life that care about you, and you care about them, and they're important to you, every once in a while, take a couple seconds and tell them. It's horrifying to think that at any moment we could be blown out of the sky, but at the end of the day, this life is very fragile. If we've learned anything from what's happened this week, from what's happened in the last few years as the war on terror, it seems to become more prevalent and more necessary. If we've learned anything, it's the fragility of life. It can go in a blink. And this is not a comical moment. This is not a moment I'm going to talk about the Vestal Parkway. It can be over in a flash. You know what, guys? Make the best of it. Maybe stop griping when you forget your coffee on the counter. Maybe stop griping when you get that red light. Stop griping when you forgot your coat, because that might just save your life. Let the people in your life know how much they mean to you. You never know when it might be your last chance. And celebrate every chance you get after that, because I'm not going to end this show on a doggy downer note. I'm not going to do that. I appreciate the fact that you guys could do anything you want with your lives right now, and you chose to listen to me. That matters to me. That makes you very cool, and I want you to know that. To my DTM Wicked Radio family, I love you guys. You know what? Sometimes you can just capture it in a few words, and that'll just do it. I love you guys. It means so much to me that you let me come on and do this show. You let me talk about things that are important to me that I hope are important to others. Guys, it's 7:55 Eastern Standard Time. I'm in upstate New York. It's a beautiful evening. I'm going to go spend it with some folks who are important to me. You know what? You do the same thing. If you can't do that, if you can't get to them, call them. Tell them you love them. and be good. I'm going to see you in 2 weeks. If you've not been good, I might know about it, and I might talk about it on my next show. So guys, come back and talk to me again sometime. Come back and listen to me again sometime, and stick around because of Wicked Weather is next. Guys, have a terrific, and I'll see you again on the radio in 2 weeks.